rebuilt, added on to. However, there were a lot of people who were born in here and a lot of people who died here. When I'm out here at night and I'm working on videos or working just in the shop, things happen. You do hear the bumps in the night, the scrapes, the whatever. I've never gotten what I would call the goosebump chilies out of them. If they're here, and they're very welcome to be here as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, in case they're listening, then they'll know I'm sucking up to them. That's it. That's what you do when you get to be my age. You see so damn much shit in your life that it's like maybe a good idea to suck up to a ghost because you don't know what the hell they're going to do to you otherwise. But in either case, you'll see and hear some of that as we go through things. If you stick with me on this adventure, I don't know how long it's going to last. And the reason I say that part is because I don't really know how long I'm going to last. And I do like basically full throttle. And whether you spell that F-U-L-L as in or F-O-O-L as in me, you'll see me do a lot of stuff that you're going to say people my age should have grown out of that already. Perhaps like the pirate business. I love being a pirate reenactor. And I love going to pirate weekends up and down the East Coast wherever I can find them. And I've never been to one of those pirate weekends that wasn't an absolute blast. It was a lot of fun. We're probably going to go to a couple of those toward the end of the year. When I go to them, I like to go with my pirate schooner, and then we come in and we shoot a bunch of cannons, and everybody participates in a game called Drink Till You Drop. And I usually would gauge how good the party was by the number of unconscious people I had to step over in the morning to check the dock lines. But, you know, I'm not trying to like glorify getting crazy with this. This is not water. It's very good though. Anyway, we'll get into a lot of that. The real reason for this video is, number one, to say thank you and to drink a toast to you all and tell you that from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for watching my videos. Before that the White Beast video came out, I think I had fewer than 50 or 60 subscribers. Now it's up to 235, which sounds like nothing compared to a lot of channels. But what I found is my channel just wasn't catching on. It never made its way out of the YouTube algorithm. And as a result, it just languished. Even during the time when they were serving up any kind of a video during COVID, mine weren't coming up. And when you're doing things and filming it, which is a pain in the ass a little bit to film it, especially if you're a one-man band like I am. I mean, you can't be in front of the camera and behind it at the same time. While I was getting tired of it and I was getting ready to kill the channel. You know, put it out there, put it out bluntly. And after I saw so many people did enjoy the White Beast and had subscribed, and I actually got to interact with some of them because finally there was something that, you know, people had commented on, so then that gave me a chance to comment back, which is another reason we're making this video. And it was fine. I liked it, and I like you folks, and I would be very honored if you'd take that walk with me and, you know, let's go out and see what this, I don't know, 66-year-old pirate's going to do this week. But anyway, I thank you all for that. Now, to get to the business of it all. I promised when I started this channel that the first 100 viewers, or I'm sorry, not viewers, but subscribers, would get a key fob. Let me see if I can put that where y'all can see it. I'll tell you about this cutlass in a minute too. These I make, and I'm going to make a couple tonight. And this one here in particular is made for a guy named John Mudd. So John Mudd, if you're watching this video, this one's for you, buddy, and you'll know it's yours because it's got a brass ring and a brass jump ring holding it together. That's yours. There's another one here and one more that I need to put the jump ring and the rest of the stuff on. And that's going to be for Rosie Brind'Amour, who was not in the original 100, but she wrote such a cool message, and I liked it so much that I sent her one back and said thank you, and I want to make you one of these key fobs too. Now, I don't know if she has a car or not, but you know, maybe she has a boyfriend that has a car, or you know, something like that, or wants to give it to her mom, dad, whoever, but she's getting one. Then there is another person by the name of Free Maid. Well, Free Maid is going to get another one of these things, and I'll tell you how you make arrangements to get them before this video is over, I hope. She's another one who just said something nice and it really hit me. I said, you know what, I want to make something for her. Now, I make a lot of things. I make a lot of things with my hands. I do a lot of wood carving. I do a lot of iron work. You know, if you like wrought iron and stuff, I do that. And I do leather work, and I also do knot work and rope work on bottles and that sort of a thing. And I thought that if I got a channel going, that I would make stuff that I could give away to my viewers. And that's something I'm working on right now. Now, as I said, when I started the channel, I had made arrangements, saved up the money, and the first 100 subscribers were to get one of these, and they still are. I actually had set aside money to buy the little bubble envelopes, and figuring for most people in the USA or Canada, it probably isn't going to cost more than $2 to send it. It could be $3, it doesn't matter. But I set aside, I believed, enough money to cover the postage for 100 of those. And an interesting thing happens, though, and that is the way YouTube works subscribers. If you have your subscriptions on private and you subscribe to someone's channel, they don't know who you are. You don't show up on their channel's subscriber list. So over a period of time, because most of my first subscribers were actually kind of local, were people that I ran into at different pirate festivals, I've given away about 50 of that original 100 so far. And there are showing up right now on my count, or if you go to YouTube Studio or wherever it's at, and it says that I have somewhere around 235 subscribers. When I click up on there, it probably only shows the usernames of maybe 100 people. So what I thought I would do is go to where it says 250. It was like 235 subscribers as of yesterday. But I think what I'm going to do is send all of the first 250 subscribers one of these things. Now that doesn't mean that if you were 251 or 389 that you're not going to get one. What I'll probably do after that is continue to make them for my subscribers, but they'll have to probably pay for the shipping and the envelope. It's probably about $3. These, if you went on to Etsy or something like that, you're looking at 10 or 15 bucks for a decent leather key fob. And a lot of what they're selling there is machine-made crap. These you will see is 100% handmade, right down to this little jump ring here, which is going to be the subject probably of another video that I hopefully make tonight. But anyway, John Mudd, Free Made, and Rosie Brind Amour. You have 3 of these, and now you have to get a hold of me. I went out and got a post office box just for that, and it is Ye Pirates Workshop, P.O. Box 222, Ono, O-N-O, Pennsylvania, 17077. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, that's the nearest town, and if you are a subscriber, send me your subscriber name and either an email address. In fact, email may be a safer way for you. What I would do is I need something that will tell me where you want me to ship your key fob. So hey, this is kind of the safest way I can figure, and at the same time, I don't want to have like 10 million scam artists sending a letter to that box saying, oh yes, I'm your subscriber, send it to me, I'm in, you know, Antarctica or something. I'm going to sort of hope that most people are going to be a bit honest. And what I will do, though, is check the name, the username that you say, hi, I'm John Mudd, okay? Then I'll probably check that by finding a way to email a message to the John Mudd and have him verify that that was the address and everything was correct. When that all works out, guess what? 3 to 5 days later, whoever it is should be getting their key fob. So, without further ado on that, tell you some of the parts and pieces and how they're made. This is the one that's complete right now. And I'm going to reset the camera so that you can see, and then we'll go about making a couple. Alright, so let's get started on this one. There probably is one more thing I do want to say before we get going, and that's some of the other leather stuff. This is something that I make as well. I don't know if you can see it that well or not. What they are is a little wristbands. And You can see we got our logo on the back of it there. They fit a wrist about that big to that big, which basically, for me, I'm kind of large, but for most women they'll fit, and a lot of guys they'll fit as well. I have about 40 different of these that I had made up and had for sale at a flea market for a time, and I just got tired of going in there, and COVID of course helped kill that, and I'm going to give those away too during the videos. I think what I'll do is take everyone's username that's subscribed and put them on some sort of a wheel, and then basically give the wheel a spin, and wherever it lands, that person wins whatever I was giving away on that video. And we'll just do that as long as it can do, and see if people would like it. These are the two that I showed you a minute ago. It's a little bit closer up. You might get a better view. And here's how they're made. I must first find some undone leather, which I have down here. This is a bag of leather scraps. I don't get a lot of leather scrap in the leather work that I do because I cut it really close so that there's very little waste. But every now and then there's a leather store nearby that does, that's a nice one, that does specials every now and then to get people in, and during those specials they'll throw together a bag of what you would call waste almost, but still usable material, and there, that's funny, and they'll sell that pretty cheap. In fact, I'm going to tell you all a secret. Where I got these was Tandy Leather. Tandy had a deal going for a while, and I think they still do, where if you are a first responder, such as police, fire, emergency medical tech, or a veteran, or a still serving person in one of America's armed forces, they will give you a discount card that stays forever. And you're always paying, I think, a couple of bucks less than what you see that's marked on anything there. That's what suckered me into the leather business. I was a veteran. I went there, and somebody told me about that discount, and I started making stuff, and I liked making it. And you know, the next thing you know, I was signed up on that program, and now I have a business account there. But it is, for me, very convenient. There are other places to get leather tools and the different compounds that you might use on it to make something, the dyes, the waxes. But I tend to go up to Tandy because they're close by to me. And they did give me a nice, what I call a nice discount. So I tend to get a lot of my stuff there. Now, this board here Nothing special about it. It's a typical kind of a milk jug plasticky feeling thing that you get over at Walmart or one of the stores. It's about 3/8 of an inch thick. I use it for a number of things, but one thing I do not use it for is when I'm cutting with a punch slots for leather. You'll see that as we get further along. I'll be cutting some of the slots in for stitching up holsters, scabbards, you name it, maybe to, you know, go around the belt. And the reason is that this stuff could very well break your tool. And I'll show you that more when we get into it. But Candy has, I might have one here, yes. They have one that they put out on their own. And in fact, if I can get it to cross light, yeah, it doesn't want to. I had it just 1 second there. There. You can sort of see this little pattern on it. That's where the tool tapping it in went into the plastic. And what it is this plastic is a little softer than this stuff that you buy as a cutting board. And as such, when you're using, say, a 2, 3, or 4 prong hole punch or slit punch on it, it won't force one of the teeth to go one way or the other and then cause it to break. So if you're going to be doing that kind of leather work, get one of these to use for the important stuff, and just use one of these for your normal cutting, crapping, dyeing, whatever you want to do. Anyhow, that's my tool tip on that one. Now, we're going to take a piece of leather here, and I'll show you how we get that imprint on there. This is I think I'm only going to get one out of this anyway. Be a big one though. So I'll put that into the scrap bin. Somebody's going to get a gigundous one of these things. Now, wet leather. Why do we wet leather? Leather is skin. And leather is especially prepared and dried skin. So that it's prepared so that when it gets wet again, it's not going to rot. So you have to get all the things that would normally cause that to happen out of it, and that's part of the tanning process. And the other part is that since it is skin, it softens up when it gets wet. And wetting leather in order to make imprints on it or to carve it is called casing. Casing, how I got that name I don't know. But casing leather before you start working it is necessary if you want your design to stay. You know, a lot of people do this in a lot of different ways. This is now soaked plenty for what I'm going to do. And you can tell, you can feel how it bends as compared to one that's not wet. You know, there's one that's not wet, and this one is, and it just bends nicely. Okay, I would say that it's soaked. It's probably soaked about halfway through. Now, what I need to make on this is this design. Part of why I like these key fobs is that every one is an original piece of artwork. There's not a machine stamping them. It's all hand done. And it's hand done even more than most people would think. So the first thing I like to do when I'm making these is the Y. Now the Y is a little, or very much actually, what a Y would have looked like in the late 1600s. I went through the books and kind of studied the calligraphy of the time and then the normal handwriting. That's what I did. So what I'm going to do is take this stylus, which has two ends. One has a ball on it, which makes it a little easier, but doesn't go as deep. This one has a rounded point, and it goes a little deeper, but you have to use a little more muscle to make it work. Luckily, they put a sort of rubberized coating on it that lets you push down. So the first thing I want to do is the Y, and I've noticed that just while we were talking, a bit of that dried out. So what I'm going to do, since I know I have most of it wet, but not so much the surface because that dried out while I was talking, I'm just going to wet it down a little bit with a sponge. Okay, and here I'll make the Y. And what I'm doing is pushing down pretty damn hard. And then I did overwrite it. So then what I want to do is blend in a little bit where I overwrote it. Now there's the Y. I'm not sure if you can pick that up or not. It gets kind of hard to see. The next one is, speaking of hard to see, I'm going to put my extra peepers on. The next part is the P. In our logo, the P is actually a cutlass. And you can see it right there pretty well. So I'm going to do the cutlass now, and it sticks up a little bit. So to do the cutlass, I first start with what would be the handle. And I make a little bit of an over draw on it so that it can take the shape of a bow. And I don't mean a bow like Little Bo Peep, but a bow like in a hand guard. Okay, so now we have that. And I want to make it big. Now I'm going to use this because I want to make that section seem bigger. Another way you can tell on your casing whether you're too wet is if you're seeing a lot of water coming up when you press down. And we're just seeing a tiny bit, and that's about right. And since this is, at this point, still well hydrated or cased, now I'm going to take it and go around with the ball, and that makes that original needle point much wider. And wider is good because you can get it deep enough to see shadowing in there. Now as the leather dries out, you're going to lose a little bit of the design. So if you overdo it, when you are making it, if you overdo it, then what'll happen is you have it pops out right by the time you're done. I'm going to daub a tiny bit more water here. And what I was saying a few minutes ago with leather being skin, well, when skin dries out, it wants to return to where it was before. I'm going to take my pointy end here now, and I'll bring this down sort of straight, and then start to curve it, and then bring this out so it's kind of like a false edge cut or clip cut, which is something you would see more in the Barbary pirates, but had been shown so often in our pirate movies here as being a pirate's weapon that you get the glimpse and you know what it is. So now I'm going to take my ball and go down here and bring that one in. Now when you're playing with leather and learning to case it, you will find that it's almost impossible to describe or tell someone else how to do it. You can sort of give them the idea, and then they go and try it, and then they catch on to it, and they won't know how to tell somebody else how to do it either. But you at least got them there, and that's what I'm trying to do with you folks. Is if you're interested in doing leather, then I'm trying to give you the beginner tools, so to speak. Now this is the W. The W is kind of the way I did it. It's a little bit over stylized, more of a whip end, and that was on purpose. It's not too far off of the W that you see in the 1690s to 1720s writing in their script at that point. So here we're going to do this W and bring it way down. Instead of going up from here though, I'm going to bring this down to it. Give it just a little bit of a curve. Bring that one down further. And then come to here. Give my little whip end. And then join it right there like that. Alright, now I'm going to take my ball and go in here and push deeper, but also smooth, so it all looks like one stroke. And you can see a little bit of water did pop up there. I would say I wouldn't want it any wetter than this, but it's certainly wet enough to do what I wanted it to do. Now, I do want to deepen here a little bit. On the P. That is a cow, if you can hear that. She's upset about something. Cows are pretty nice, placid animals, but they're always looking for something to be upset about. Okay, so now here we go. I'm trying to make it so that the light hits us right so that you can see it. That's pretty close right there. Now the last thing to do is we encased our logo in a heart. And it just worked out well doing that. So now I want to draw the heart. And if you look, there's not a lot of room left here, is there? Not a problem. Bring her out. Take as much as you can. And then bring her down. And remember, this is the first sculpting of it. Bring this one the same way, but in the opposite direction. Okay, now we have done that. We've made our heart. I'm going to go over it twice here, then hold it up so you can look at it. Now you get an idea. This is a big one. It's going to be a big, probably should be a purse logo more than a key fob, but somebody's going to get it. I know it. Now if you saw, I slipped right there and went off the edge. That doesn't matter, because you'll see how I take care of those edges. Yeah, she is a little bit wetter than probably should be, but this is okay. It's all workable. Okay, now there it is now that we've put it in a little tighter there. Alright, so that's one. Now that's a little slower than I normally throw them through, but then again I'm not explaining it every time. So what happens to these things after we've done this is they dry out and they look like this. In fact, I'm getting ahead of myself. They dry out and they look like this. That's pretty hard. Okay. Now, originally I was going to cut them on that line. But while I was making these things, I sort of found that cutting just away from the line gave it a nicer look. You see right here, it's a little thicker there. And because we're able to make it dark in there, it makes it look a little nicer. And any kind of stuff like this, when you start doing it, if you do, as you look and see and find things that you like, and say, you know, that looks a little nicer to do that, I think I'll do that. Well, try it, experiment. Nobody's the expert on this stuff. Now here is something close to a 1/4 inch thick piece of leather, a little less. And now I want to cut it. So I'm going to tell you this this knife is generally very sharp. And all I'm doing is taking it through. And if you notice, I'm cutting toward my thumb. When I get into some of the wood carving videos, I'm going to show you something called a thumb stall, which is what I forgot to bring out here, which will save your thumb if you happen to hit a spot in wood and the knife comes slamming through. Because this knife is normally kept to a razor edge. Can you hear that? I hope you can. Anyhow, I actually make it a little sharper than that normally, but it's very sharp. And knives, there's something about knives, if they can cut you, they will. It's always a good idea to be nice to them. There's also something else to know about knives. Sharp knives cut fewer people. Sounds silly, doesn't it? But it's true. If you have a knife that is dull, you end up overpowering it, and then the next thing you know, something slips and bang, even though it's dull, it was still sharp enough to cut the hell out of you. So what I do is, like, I carve. I'm using my other finger here too to help drive this besides my thumb. Not a whole lot different than wood carving. Now I'm going to bring this the rest of the way because I'm getting into a little bit of a pickle here with this. Okay. The smoother you do your cut, the less work you have to do on this at the end. The main thing is have a good grip on everything. And as you're moving and cutting, when possible, cut by moving the material into the blade. Or at least some bit of a semblance of that. Everybody's sitting there waiting for me. I know he's going to do it. I got to tell you what, when I was learning wood carving, that was interesting. I got bit by damn near every knife I ever used with wood carving. Generally, I use a glove and a thumb stall for that. And the glove is one of the knife-resistant types. You may notice here that this already had holes in it. What it is, it's the leftover from something. Some kit or something like that that Tandy was building. And then this being the scrap is what went into their bin that then got sorted out and put into their bags. And don't do this fast, because you just get more character to it doing it this way. If I had one of those little hand crank, cut your leather machines like the old shoemakers used to have, I probably wouldn't use it. I'd still prefer to cut things this way. Okay, here's the cutout now. And if you see, I've cut a little past the line. That's what will give me that additional little border look. And I think that border sort of sets it off, makes it look prettier. Alright, so when we get to this point, and we get a bunch of them, then we go to this one might be the biggest one I've made yet. This one's pretty good sized here. We get them here now. We're at this stage. So at this stage, I know already that I want to use a leather dye, a brown leather dye, that will somewhat darken down in the hollows, but it doesn't do enough. And I want those hollows to be dark enough so that the YPW sticks out. Sorry kids, I was enjoying that beer. So this is a leather trick. Normal, plain old Sharpie, ultra fine. Okay? Be a little careful with it, but it's very forgiving. Get down in that groove and just follow that groove along so that you're putting a black imprint in there. Go slow. Pretend you're coloring something important. You sort of are. And if you go out of the lines, don't worry, because when you start waxing it, it'll blend. Okay, so there you see what that part does now. It was this in this hand, no, in this hand. It becomes this, and then once it is dyed and waxed, it looks like this. Okay, so we've taken you through that step. The next step after this is to use another Sharpie. Now, something you might want to do is just go look around it and see how your cut is. If your cut isn't ragged, then you're pretty good. And I forgot to do the outside border, so I want to get that part done. This is the outside border. And that line that we saved, by not cutting it all the way out completely, that line is your groove for doing this part. Now the Sharpies are a permanent marker, and I haven't had any of them. I mean, black's the only color I've used of them for this work, but I haven't had any of them fade out or wash out. And I've had key fobs that I made this way for close to 20 years. I might have one here. Here. This is a really old one, which you can see. But that thing's over 20 years old. I mean, you know, what do you get 20 years out of anymore? These will last at least that. I mean, as long as you're not running them through the washing machine every 5 minutes. They shouldn't go through the washing machine at all, but if it ever does, just let it dry out. Might have to put some leather oil or something on it at some point. But leather's great stuff. This is a fat Sharpie. And as I said, they're permanent, so make sure you get the permanent type and not the ones that they make for dry erase boards. Now, you can also buy pens, at places such as Tandy, and then buy a dye that you put in them and all that. But I just think it's too much hassle. I get these, I use them. When they can't work anymore, I get another one. And then I'm not busy, filling, cleaning, and doing all that stuff. Okay, so the other thing we did here is we did the edge. Doing the edge just makes it look that much better. As you can see here, if that had a light edge on it, it just wouldn't look as good. So here we go. That's what that part looks like. So now where do we go after that? After that, we punch a hole in it. Well, actually, after that, that's not what we do. After that, what we do is we dye it. So my dye is over there. Let me take a dyed one. We dye it. And to dye it, all you need is a bottle of leather dye, such as they have shelves full of it at Tandy. Yeah, this ought to be a commercial for those bastards. They have shelves of it. And this is a gel antique. It's a gel dye. Gel antique is the name of it. And it's brown, and I went to the darker shades that they had of that in brown. And what you do is you smear that all on it. Use a piece of cloth. This is kind of like a fleecy cloth here. This is fine for shining, but and for waxing, but when it comes to dyeing, you want something that would be white or the color of your dye, because something like this, it might leave a little yellow in it. You don't really want that. But if you're waxing and buffing, it doesn't matter. It doesn't discolor anything. You want to keep that in mind, whatever kind of a soft cloth you use to buff these with after they're waxed. So here we are, waxed. This has been waxed. I wax everything on it. And the reason is kind of like, why not? It doesn't hurt. And, it makes a nicer surface. As this rides around in your pocket, it's just going to keep polishing for quite a long time. Now, at this point, we need to put in the jump ring. And I use several different means of punching leather. This is kind of a professional leather punch. So I'm going to find a spot that's got enough leather, enough border that it'll be tough. And then punch there, because these are actually meant to kind of hang like that. I mean, otherwise I would have, put it like this or in the middle. I think they look better hanging that way. Okay, so the next thing is that you want to attach your ring to it. You could take your ring and put it through like this. That's your key ring, there's your keychain. If you have a jump ring, it'll lay flat. See? I mean, it ought to be a earring or something. So, what I started to do is make jump rings and use them on all my key fobs. Now, the jump rings that I could find at the leather shops they weren't very good. They were tiny and cheap, and I just thought, well, maybe I could make my own jump rings. And I started out making them with brass rod. And what I would do is take a piece of brass rod and turn it around a round 3/8 inch steel rod that I had up in my forge. And then I would just cut them off and fix the ends and then use them. The problem that I found with brass is that some rods they would snap before they would bend, and what it was is the rods weren't annealed, and I didn't feel like going through the annealing process for a bunch of brass rods. I mean, if I had an oven up there, like a tempering oven, then it would have been fine. But what I had to do is stick them in the forge and run them back and forth until they heated up, and I could see they went to a lighter color, sort of a reddish color, and then you pop them in water. Brass and things like that are the exact opposite in annealing as steel would be, and it just didn't work. So I got the idea of going to one of the big box stores, and I picked up copper ground wire, and this stuff's pretty thick. Can't really tell. Yeah, it's about the same size. But then I would take this wire and wrap it around the mandrel and go through and then cut. The problem was the last batch that I did, instead of sliding it off and cutting each one, I just thought I'd be quick about it, and I took a cutting disc on a small grinder and went, and that left very much sharp edges on these. So what I had to do then is take each one of these and give it a little bit of a sanding to get any of that sharp stuff off. So it made an extra step that I didn't really want to take. So if you're going to make any of these things, you might want to skip that extra step too. So now at this point we now have the jump ring and the key ring. And I guess we can use these. So now the object is to close this. Now, I generally use a pair of small pliers. I don't see them laying anywhere nearby to make life easier. Oh wait, I do. And a lot of times I'll just wrap black electrician's tape around it. And that's to keep from marking this ring here. Because it is copper. Copper is soft. Okay, now we've closed the ring. I'm trying to get you kind of a close-up there of it. And we've closed it. I always run my thumb fingers around it. Make sure that there's nothing sharp that's going to catch somebody's finger or cloth in their pocket. And there you have it done. And that one, that was I gotta find her name again. Rosie Brindamore. That's Rosie Brindamore's. So, John Mudd gets the brass ring, the last of the bunch, and Rosie gets one of the copper rings. An interesting thing is I have not seen any of these copper rings tarnish, go green, or do anything when they're in people's purses, pockets, or whatever. It seems that your pocket tends to keep polishing it, and it just looks better and better. For instance, let's go back to this, I don't know, 15, 20-year-old jump ring, and it is still shiny, copper, nice. I mean, so using copper for the jump rings isn't a bad idea. It works pretty good. Alright, so everybody, so you know, you want to look in the description. If you're a subscriber, look in the subscription, or I'm sorry, in the description of this video, and the address for Ye Pirates Workshop will be in there. And write your screen name, username, and your address. If you want to do an email, that's fine too. But if I'm going to send you your stuff for subscribing, I got to know where the heck you're at, okay? So with that being said and done, I think we're going to call this one a day and tell you thank you for watching Ye Pirates Workshop. These are going to be given out as prizes at some time. They're key fobs, but you could probably see they're pretty special. There's only a limited number of them, and that's why they're going to be special for different people as they come up. And I'm hoping that I can come up with things that keep you folks happy and that you enjoy the videos. Other than that, thank you for watching. And I can't get my nose down low enough to be in the shot here at the end, so I'll just wave goodbye.